So, I've written a piece at Forbes about the biggest problems that the seventh season of The Walking Dead is facing. Uh, Instead of going point by point, I'm just going to go over a few of kind of my bigger ones. Characters. I feel like we've really gotten a weird version of sort of our core group this season. It started off with Glenn being killed as well as Abraham, but Glenn, of course, is a more central figure than Abraham. And we've seen some of Rosita and Sasha really plotting to get revenge, but we've almost seen no Maggie whatsoever. And really, that's so strange to me because Maggie, if anybody should be the central protagonist of season 7, it should be Maggie. Her husband was killed. She has a baby on the way. She is a strong, capable woman, and yet we barely have seen her. I mean, literally, it's been a couple episodes with Maggie, and that's it. This feels like not just an oversight, kind of a slap in the face, both to her character as well as to fans of the show who probably would like to see more of her. I think also Carol, her sort of character transition has been really problematic, and that it doesn't make a lot of sense for her to. Most of the struggles she faced, the abusive husband, her daughter dying, all these things just continually made her stronger and more capable. And yet all of a sudden, almost out of the blue, she is a meek and timid PTSD suffering housewife again. Granted, that seems to start to be changing, but there's almost no reason for Carol's arc. Like, why even have her go that route into the meek and timid land? I don't see how it furthers her character. So really, especially the female characters this season have been getting short shrift. Michonne a little less so, but we've seen very little of Michonne being kind of the character we know and love. And even in that scene with the terrible fake deer, which I'll get to in a bit, Michonne drops her sword when she thinks it's Rick. I mean, she doesn't even bother to investigate if it's Rick. Or kill the zombies that killed Rick. Right? She drops her sword and starts backing away. It's a stupid reaction, and it really kind of diminishes her to me a little bit. So characters, especially Maggie, but other characters just have been getting kind of the shaft. I've talked about Negan before. He's another big problem with this season. I don't think he's a very good villain, partly because I don't like the way he's acted by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I don't really like how he's written with a lot of really cheesy lines and nursery rhymes and whatnot. I also think that this is partly because the show is both trying to stick to the comics and change them in huge ways. For instance, it makes no sense to me that Rick's group would murder like dozens of Negan's people, many of them in their sleep, and then Negan would just kill 2 of Rick's people. And that reaction is so understated. I mean, if someone had came into Rick's camp and killed a bunch of his people, he wouldn't let them live. Like, he'd kill them, and so would you probably. So would I. Especially in the context of this apocalypse. But Negan lets them live, and that immediately makes him seem less ferocious. Like, so what? He killed a couple of people in revenge. He really probably should have. But this doesn't happen in the comics. It's not like this in the comics. So the whole sort of like when I think a bunch of people watch this and say, this doesn't make sense. I don't understand this character. I don't like him that much. I think it's because they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Make Negan like he is in the comics, but vastly change the circumstances of his relationship with the other characters. So that's a problem. Special effects. It's only been a couple episodes. The zombie stuff still looks great, but the fake backdrop and the fake deer have really, really bothered me this season. It's partly because it feels like a cop-out. It feels like a real cheap play on AMC's part to give us such bad special effects. The fake backdrop bothered me less just because that episode sort of felt like a cheesy, like Planet of the Apes TV show or something. I don't know. Those garbage pail kids, though, the trash people. This ties into sort of the problem of writing. This season seems to have like really subpar writing. You get these weird trash people who speak in a really weird pidgin and up and things like that, and there's no reason for that. There's no reason that none of that entire group ever expresses emotions, really. And you have bizarre scenes between, like, the Rick and the bad haircut lady, where they're bargaining how many guns he gets to keep, and they suddenly he jacks the number up to 20 from 10, and she agrees to it. It's just so weird. There's so many weird, poorly written moments throughout this season. I don't think The Walking Dead was ever the best written show, but it certainly had a higher caliber than we're seeing now. Daryl's line about to Ezekiel, because Ezekiel won't go fight after just meeting Daryl and Rick. He won't agree to what they want right away. So Daryl says, "And you call yourself king?" Dude, it's just a terrible line. I can't imagine having to say that line, and so many others. Let's see. I have these listed, so I'm going to use it. Oh yeah, filler. I think this ties into the bad writing, but I think that the fact that there's so much filler it's a vicious cycle. The fact that there's so many filler episodes as they get to the battle against the saviors means that they're stuffing it with subpar material. So you've got all these episodes that you really could condense into far fewer episodes, and instead of coming up with interesting storylines to sort of fill that space, they're just coming up with, like, feet dragging episodes, whole episodes with Rick and Michonne off, leaving Rick's kids behind as they look for guns, and entire episodes devoted to Tara and Eugene. And it's like, okay, like, enough with the filler. Like, if you're gonna drag this out, at least give us some sort of B plot, or a couple different plots that we can sort of hang to throughout the season. Because right now it feels like the season could be about half as long. And then finally, the question that sort of hangs over this show is, why don't they just leave? There's really nothing left for them in this region of the country except for death and domination at the hands of Negan and his people. Alexandria is pretty much screwed. Hilltop is screwed. The kingdom could probably hold on, but there's really no point for Rick to continue with any of this. I mean, he should he should go. They should pack up and leave, head somewhere else, go to Minnesota, or Canada, or go south, go to Mexico, meet up with the Fear the Walking Dead people. No, don't do that. Don't do that. I honestly don't know which is worse, Fear the Walking Dead Season 2 or The Walking Dead Season 7. I'm probably Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, but it's sad that it's come to this. Why don't they leave? Maybe it's because they want revenge, but they don't really talk about that. Maybe it's because they want to save Eugene. They don't really talk about that. Maybe it's because it's too dangerous to leave. They get caught, but they don't really talk about it. They often don't talk about normal things that normal human beings would talk about in this show. And maybe that's part of the problem. They don't communicate with each other very well. The arguments that characters get into feel really forced and strange, and often revolve around people disagreeing with Rick and then other people telling them that they're stupid, and then they die. Anyways, so those are my big problems I'm having with the show right now. Can it come back from the brink? I think so. I think it can. Should it? I mean, it's renewed for an 8th season. How many seasons can they drag this out? I mean, yes, it's still getting over 10 million viewers every Sunday, but in its current trajectory, I think we're going to see more and more siphoning off of viewers and a more and more jaded audience. So I think people are hanging on because they want to see what happens. But if they don't improve it soon, if they don't do something about the way the show is headed, I really see this dropping off in a pretty major way. So I guess we'll see. As always, I hope for the best. Thanks for watching. Peace.